And welcome back to Smart Martial Arts, the YouTube channel where we go over everything martial arts. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my style of karate's animal strikes. I'm going to be ranking them. So my style is, I guess, like an offshoot of Shaolin Kempo, which is a combination of a karate style from Hawaii and then Shaolin Kung Fu. So we've kept the animals as a part of our style. So we have the dragon, snake, leopard, crane, and tiger, and they all stand for something. And I'm going to be ranking 2 to 3 strikes from each. And I believe the ranking system I'm going to be doing is effective, or the effectiveness of it. And then maybe we'll just do how goofy it is, so we can kind of get both at the same time. With a more focus on the effective part, because I guess that would just make way more sense of what the hell would I actually use. So, we'll start with the crane. So the first strikes that we're going to do are the rich hand, and then like the, we're going to call it a sword hand, which is basically just the complete opposite. It's basically a variation of the knife hand. So instead of going like straight out or down, I'm basically chopping with it. So the rich hand, I think if I were just to guess at the list that I have, would probably be the most effective, because you see it a lot and it's a lot of, you can actually like apply it for a little bit. So it's kind of like an overhand here, but I'm keeping my thumb tucked in, and I'm either going to smack with the hand, which is why it's called a rich hand, boom, or if I'm really feeling, down to clown, I'm going to hit with my forearm here. So this one, the effectiveness of it, I actually like. I do use this kind of while I'm sparring. It's usually not going to be the actual open hand or the hand technique. It's going to be kind of like a fist, where I'm going to basically slap with this part and do this. So this strike is really good if I want to change angles. So I'll kind of throw this and I'll change. And I can basically use it interchangeably with like a hook and an overhand. So instead of doing this, I do that. And then the next one is going to be the knife hand or the sword hand. I guess you can kind of, we'll combine them. And I guess the variation of the knife hand where I'm kind of striking with it or chopping with it, I don't hate all that much, because it's a variation of like a front to knuckle punch, where it's basically just a normal jabber across. But now it's the edge of my hand going into wherever. So this is, I guess I could use this if I'm trying to get somewhere in a soft target, where it might actually be hard for my fist to get through, kind of like the side of the neck. Like this is kind of awkward here, but I could just kind of do it this way. And then the force of my strike is actually connected, or not connected, but focused into a small area. And then the usage of this, I mean, it's not really that limited. I mean, I could this way, this way, this way, this way. Any way that I want to hit, I could probably figure it out. It's basically just like a normal, just open slap, but with this. So for those ones, I would give the rich hand. Well, I'm not really rating them. I guess I'm not putting them in a tier list. So never mind. They're both good. But I think this is better. No, we are gonna put it on a tier list. That's right. That's how I always do this. So rich hand, the idea of it, maybe not this full strike, but this is how we teach it. So I'm gonna give it an A, and then the rich hand, knife hand, I'm also gonna I'll give a B. So with the crane out of the way, we have the tiger, and the 2 strikes I'm gonna take from them are the tiger claw, which is I'm gonna basically be striking with all 5 of this, boom, and then the tiger mouth, boom, which is this. I believe I've also heard the tiger mouth be called an ox jaw, which I believe is this one. I don't remember where I heard that from, but if that's how you know it, that's how you know it. Doing this, we're gonna start off with this one first, because I think this is probably gonna be, actually this one might be the best, because the whole purpose of it is I've really only ever seen this to the throat, and then on a very rare occasion if I want to hook the shoulder. But if I wanted to do a grab, it's basically kind of just anything where if I need to like pass something, and I can kind of use the shape of it to kind of hook a joint, whether I be like here and then yanking this down or whatever it is I'm doing. But basically, I am opening it like I was doing the Darth Vader choke, but I'm not using the force. I'm slamming the edge of this part here into my opponent's whatever it is. Usually, it's going to be the neck. So this one, I like this one. I'm going to give this one just an S straight out of the way because it's a very easy thing to do. Whether you do it fully like this or you do more of the ox-jaw variation, which I've seen, it doesn't matter. Now, the Tiger Claw strike is weird because your fingers by themselves are not that strong against if I smack something really hard. But I guess I don't have to just use it straight out. I can rake with something, which, if I go for the eyes or across, any region where it's something sensitive. So, eyes, neck, groin, if I'm really feeling like my life is just completely not in my hands, I'll just do that. But we normally do it where I'm going straight out and then all 5 points of contact are hitting kind of the same area. And typically we use this against the ribs or we'll rake to the face. So the Tiger Claw, I'm going to give it probably a C, just because the actual, I guess, the primary use of it is kind of very sketchy because I don't want to break my fingers or do whatever. But then the rake is actually a pretty solid idea. I like that one. Now the Leopard, I can only think of one strike with it, but I can use it in a couple different ways. We call it the Leopard Paw, which basically if I were to make a normal fist, I extend my first knuckles out, but I keep the other ones bent in. So I'm using the ridges of my knuckles, whether it be these 2 or these 3. These 3 are probably going to be the most commonly used ones because there's more than 2. But you use it the normal way, or maybe if I even want to use kind of the I guess the middle finger here because it's the most furthest out. So it's kind of all of the force of my punch is focused here, and it's a relatively solid base going back. Maybe if I even kind of like bent it down a little bit, even more. So I can use it straight out, which is the normal intention, where if someone throws a hook, I can like jam this into the joint here. I could slam this here, or I could kind of like strike here. I can slide it down the sternum, which doesn't feel great. But along with that, I could also use this in a rich hand fashion here, and then also like a hammer fist or knife hand kind of thing. So you kind of get the best of both worlds, or best of all 3 worlds. And because of that, I'm going to give this one A. But the primary function of this is very limited in what I can actually do with it. So I'm going to give it an A. I've also realized that I've ignored the goofy part of it, but that doesn't matter. We're gonna pretend I never said it. And that's all the strikes I can really think of for Leopard at the moment. So we're gonna go into the snake. And for the snake, I'm gonna do the 2-finger poke, which is just kind of your normal your stooges thing, and then also a trigger finger. So the 2-finger poke is exactly what it sounds like. I'm going to take my index and my middle finger, I'm going to curve them back, and then I'm going to smack you in the eyes, or smack you in the neck, the groin, or wherever else is a softer target, which is going to mostly be the eyes. And I think this is fantastic. I mean, if you slam something into somebody's eyes, that's bad news, because they're going to be, one, focused on that, and then also that's a very disabling attack, depending on how hard I do it and exactly how, where I'm hitting. If I'm going to the side, maybe not so much, but if I'm nailing it right in the middle, whew, it's a bad day for them. And I guess I could also rake with it, but we never really talked about that. So it's basically just a 2-finger poke straight into the eyes. This gets S, for obvious reasons, where I'm going, boom, right there, vision no longer. And if they have glasses, I just, whoop, whoop, just like that. Knock them down, poke them. Now, trigger finger. I don't know if I would ever punch with them. No, not really. But for just maybe a 1 strike, or getting somewhere where it's going to be, it's necessary that I need a smaller amount of room. The primary for that is if I was doing a pressure point kind of attack, I'd use my trigger finger because I'm not dealing with everything in here. I can get just that little tiny part into the back. The primary one that I always do is behind the ear, where I'll push the top of the jaw out through the nose. That doesn't feel great. If it isn't that one, I will also drive it into the upper ribs or the lower ribs. If I'm in jiu-jitsu and I want to be kind of a pain in the ass, I'll do that. Or if I'm getting like a bear hug or something like that, and I can slide it up into here, I can just shove it, or I can do the same thing when I do with my my rich hand or my leopard paw here. I can go in, I can slide it down. So the trigger finger, for an actual strike, I'm not a huge fan of it. But the applications that you can do with it, I like it quite a bit. I'm going to give it an A, just because it's very easy to kind of, you know, maneuver yourself and slide things in a position where it's very uncomfortable. And then the last animal we have is the dragon. Now, there's not really a whole lot that I can really take from the dragon. The main one that we had was the dragon tail kick, which is I'm basically just slamming that. Also not, you know, the same thing as like a dragon's tail sweep where I'm here, boom. And then also we have a dragon's head, which is very similar to the trigger finger. But the first thing, we'll do the kick. To just my normal, you know, a normal person standing up, I'm going to be doing a back kick or a side kick. But someone who's on the ground or behind me for whatever reason, I can just kind of slam, and that's not good for them. That's a bad day. But because, you know, I you know, for the sake of it, I have to actually be turned around. They have to be behind me. They get to see. Because while this thing is super strong, I don't want somebody behind me unless, you know, they've fallen for whatever reason, and I can very quickly kind of just do that kind of stuff. But I get to see just because of that. Now, the dragon's head strike is cheating because trigger finger is this. Dragon's head is this. It's a very powerful middle finger. So basically the exact same kind of stuff where I have a little bit more of a frame behind it because I have the fingers surrounding it, but kind of the same idea where I can drive it in the pressure point, in the sternum or the ribs or wherever else. And then maybe if I guess I could do this with the trigger finger too, but I could also pinch and get like a monkey bite somewhere. But those are the really only two dragon strikes. I'm gonna give that one probably an A as well. Or I already forgot, but whatever rank I gave the trigger finger, it's gonna get the exact same thing. And that does it for this video. A little goofy, and it might not be that relatable to really anybody because animals are, you know, a very goofy thing to have. But it was kind of just, you know, something that I remembered saying that I would do in a couple of videos ago, and I wanted to actually do it. And I guess if the animals, I mean, is something that like is interesting to people, I could talk about them a little bit more. But they're more of on the, for me anyway, I guess I'll talk about them a little bit. The animals to me are not really a necessary thing, but they can kind of help you explain things to kids because the principles of them, they kind of stay the same and kind of stay constant. It's a good way to teach people, you know, the rich hand. It's a crane technique, or if I have, you know, a normal, like a crane punch defense, all that kind of stuff. And then also they all stand for something. So the crane would be like balance and grace. The tiger would be strength and tenacity, all that kind of stuff. So the principles that they teach are good. And then they also use, they're also a good way to actually like teach people concepts and a good way to relate a certain thing to something else. And then also they're fun. I mean, I think martial arts is also, you know, is great, obviously, for self-defense, but you also need to take a little bit of time here and there and kind of just have fun with things. And animals are one of my favorite things to do whenever I teach and I have nothing left to do, or if they ask. It's super fun, very creative, and there's endless amount of possibilities. So that's why I like the animals. But if I had to, I would remove those from the curriculum, but I'm not going to, so there's that. But that's my spiel about the animals. If people are interested in that, I might be able to do a video where I kind of sit down more and not stand up and do a lot of technique stuff, where I talk about them. But I don't expect that to happen, but if it does, that'd be awesome, because I genuinely like the animals, and I think that they're a good thing to do if you can apply them more. But that's enough of me talking. I hope you guys liked the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.